I doubt that he will reappear, but you never know, you must never...
There's a boy who walks into a classroom, but no one really sees him. He tries to speak, but the words get stuck somewhere in his throat, twisted, jagged, unrecognizable. Laughter erupts. Whispers circle. He's an alien, that boy was. Rowan Atkinson. A stutter that made ordinary communication a battlefield turned him into a target at school. But little did anyone know, that same struggle would one day fuel the laughter of millions. Rowan Sebastian Atkinson was born on January 6, 1955 in Consett, a small industrial town in County Durham, England. He was the youngest of 4 boys, but tragedy shadowed him even before he could form memories. His eldest brother, Paul, died as a baby, leaving his parents with grief and Rowan with a subtle, unspoken weight. His surviving brother, Rodney, would later rise in politics, almost leading the UK Independence Party. But Rowan's path was far from ordinary. Growing up on a quiet farm, discipline was expected, and silence was golden. Yet Rowan's world was filled with unspoken chaos from around the age of 5. His stutter became a wall between him and the world. Simple words became mountains. His time at Durham Chester School was cruel. Classmates mocked him relentlessly. Canon John Grove, who taught there, remembered a shy boy with a rubbery, expressive face. A boy who could melt into the background yet demand attention when he tried to speak. Among his classmates was a young Tony Blair, who would later remark on how harsh the bullying was. Words like alien weren't just cruel, they were defining. Rowan spent most of his childhood alone, navigating a world that didn't understand him. But here's where the story twists. On stage, the stutter vanished completely. Like a magic switch flipped, the words flowed, the timing was perfect, and Rowan transformed. Pain became power. The very thing that had alienated him became the key to his genius. Performing wasn't just an escape, it was a revelation. From those first shaky performances at school plays to small shows at Oxford, Rowan discovered a world where his voice, no matter how silent, could speak volumes. Rowan Atkinson wasn't just a boy who stuttered, he was a boy with a brilliant mind. By the time he reached his teens, his academic talents were undeniable. Science, math, engineering, it all came naturally. In 1973, at the age of 18, he earned a place at Newcastle University to study electrical and electronic engineering. People expected him to become a scientist, a researcher, or an engineer. A life rooted in logic and precision, yet Rowan carried a secret. Behind his quiet demeanor, a fire was waiting to ignite on stage. After completing his undergraduate degree in 1975, he followed in his father's footsteps to Queen's College, Oxford, for a master's degree in electrical engineering. His studies were technical, intricate, and demanding. Self-tuning control systems, a subject most would find incomprehensible, was his focus. Rowan was on track for a life in academia, perhaps a PhD, perhaps groundbreaking research. But something pulled at him, a quiet insistence that the stage was where he truly belonged. It was at Oxford that Rowan stumbled into a world that would change his life forever, the drama club. Amid lectures and labs, he joined a group called the Etceteras, a ragtag collection of students with a shared love for performance. There, he met Richard Curtis, a young writer with an uncanny ability to recognize genius in unexpected forms. The first time Richard watched Rowan perform, he saw a quiet, awkward figure in the corner, a man who seemed almost invisible. Then, with a single sketch miming, speaking awkwardly, twisting his body in unnatural ways, Rowan exploded into brilliance. Richard later called it pure genius. That moment marked the beginning of a transformation. Rowan was no longer just a shy engineer with a stutter. He was a performer. The stage became a sanctuary where his stutter disappeared, replaced by an expressive, almost otherworldly physicality. Yet balancing this new passion with a demanding master's program wasn't easy. Rowan spent long nights oscillating between calculus and comedy sketches, between control systems and character studies. Even with all the academic pressure, the pull of performance grew stronger every day. By the time he performed at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe in 1976, it was clear engineering might have built his mind, but comedy had built his soul. Rowan was ready to leave behind expectations and embrace a path that was uncertain, risky, and above all utterly transformative. By the late 1970s, Rowan Atkinson was no longer just an engineer with a secret passion, he was a performer hungry to prove himself. His time at Oxford had taught him the magic of transformation. Step onto the stage, and the stutter disappeared, replaced by a confidence that few could imagine. But the road to recognition was far from smooth. Success wouldn't come from talent alone. It demanded persistence, rejection, and the courage to keep performing when the world didn't yet understand him. In 1979, Rowan created his first major project, a radio show called The Atkinson People for BBC Radio 3. On it, he played a variety of eccentric characters, Sir Coram Basset, French philosopher George Dupontin. The scripts were filled with witty, clever humor. His friend Richard Curtis helped write, and Griff Rhys-Jones produced. The critics noticed the brilliance, but the audience was small, airing in a slot unsuited for comedy. The show failed to attract listeners, yet it was here that Rowan honed his craft, mastering subtle timing, intricate physicality, and the ability to convey humor without relying solely on words. Even as Rowan experimented with radio, television remained elusive. The BBC repeatedly rejected pilots, unable to grasp his unique style. Canned Laughter, an early TV pilot in 1979, featured a version of the character that would become Mr. Bean, but networks didn't take the risk. During this time, his stutter returned. making auditions even more nerve-wracking. Anxiety and self-doubt threatened to pull him back toward engineering a safer, predictable path. But each time Rowan slipped into character, the stutter vanished, leaving only a performer capable of connecting with audiences. In ways words could never capture, collaborations became crucial. Rowan partnered with former Oxford friends like Angus Deaton, who often played the straight man, providing balance to Rowan's wild antics. Their work together on radio sketches taught him the importance of chemistry, timing, and improvisation. These early experiments laid the groundwork for iconic creations like Blackadder and Mr. Bean. By the time he returned to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in 1979, at just 24 years old, Rowan had found his voice silent, physical, and unforgettable, performing in near-empty theaters, helping to build sets, and facing audiences that didn't always understand. He learned resilience. The world hadn't yet recognized his genius, but he had discovered a truth that would guide him forever. The power to transform pain into laughter was his greatest gift. Rowan Atkinson's moment of reckoning arrived in 1979 when the BBC finally gave him a chance on a new comedy show called Not the 9 O'Clock News. It was meant to air in April, but the general election delayed it until October 16th. The timing couldn't have been more uncertain. Critics were skeptical, audiences were small, and the show's satirical, edgy humor was unlike anything the network had produced before. For Rowan, it was a high-stakes opportunity, one that could define his career or end it before it had truly begun. The first episodes didn't go smoothly. Ratings were low. With barely 1 million viewers tuning in, critics were harsh, some labeling the content offensive or inappropriate. Mel Smith, who would later become Rowan's close collaborator, even described the initial episodes as the worst half-hour of TV he'd ever seen. Behind the cameras, tension simmered, cast and crew faced creative disagreements, budget cuts, and tight deadlines. Rowan, perfectionist by nature, felt the pressure intensely. Yet, amidst the chaos, he began to shine. His characters, absurd, awkward, and brilliant, began capturing glimpses of audience attention. One of the show's early breakthroughs came with sketches that pushed boundaries, while remaining deeply clever. Take Gerald the Gorilla, for instance. Rowan donned a gorilla suit and transformed into a creature unexpectedly smarter and wilder than his human co-stars. The contrast was hilarious, outrageous, and, most importantly, unforgettable. The sketch became a cultural touchstone, earning acclaim at the Montreux Festival in 1982 and helping the show win a BAFTA for Best Light Entertainment Program. It was proof that Rowan's approach, physical comedy, exaggerated expressions, and precise timing was groundbreaking. Despite this creative success, the path wasn't easy. The BBC's budget cuts forced the team to scrap elaborate sets and simplify sketches. Rowan's intense dedication became evident. He worked tirelessly, often pushing his body and mind to exhaustion to perfect each gesture, each facial expression. His stutter, once again, returned in interviews and auditions, reminding him of the fragile boundary between brilliance and vulnerability. But Rowan persevered. Not the 9 O'Clock News wasn't just a show, it was a crucible. It tested Rowan's patience, resilience, and creativity. By confronting rejection, navigating chaos, embracing the physicality of his performances, he was laying the foundation for something far greater. This was the moment the silent boy who once couldn't speak began to claim his place as a comedic genius, one sketch at a time. By 1983, Rowan Atkinson had become more than just a promising talent. He was ready to take a bold leap. Alongside his longtime collaborator Richard Curtis, he launched Blackadder, a historical sitcom that would redefine British comedy. The premise was daring. Imagine a world where Richard III had won the Battle of Bosworth Field and followed the cunning, selfish, and hilariously sarcastic Edmund, Prince of, well, Blackadder. The idea was audacious, the sets massive, the costumes elaborate, the stakes higher than ever. Filming began at Elwick Castle, with enormous crews and elaborate period costumes. But from the start, challenges mounted, rain-delayed shoots, elaborate sets blew up the budget, and critics were skeptical. Rowan was in the thick of it, balancing the demands of complex historical humor with the physical and emotional intensity required to bring his characters to life. Each scene demanded precision, timing, and the mastery of subtle facial expressions that could communicate sarcasm, anger, or sly humor without a word spoken. The first season's reception was lukewarm. Critics praised the concept, but questioned whether it would truly land with audiences. Yet amidst the uncertainty, a breakthrough came, the International Emmy. That recognition validated Rowan and Curtis's vision, giving the BBC the confidence to continue, but this time with changes. Future seasons would shed massive sets and focus on tighter scripts, sharper jokes, and richer character development. The gamble paid off. By 1986, with the premiere of Blackadder 2, everything clicked. Ben Elton joined as co-writer, elevating the pace, wit, and timing. Rowan's character, Edmund, became sharper, funnier, and more cunning. Supporting characters like the hopelessly lovable Baldric and the mischievous Queenie, played by Miranda Richardson, added depth and charm. The chemistry was electric, with improvisation often capturing moments that became iconic. Rowan's physicality, honed through years of stage and radio, allowed him to dominate scenes without overshadowing others. The final season, Blackadder goes forth in 1989, proved that Rowan could balance comedy with profound emotional weight. Set in the trenches of World War I, the show remained hilarious while subtly exposing the futility of war. The finale, soldiers marching into no man's land in slow motion, became one of the most emotional endings in television history. Rowan's ability to blend laughter and pathos cemented his status as a masterful performer through Blackadder. Rowan learned that risk and creativity often come hand in hand. By trusting his instincts, pushing boundaries, and embracing collaboration, he transformed a risky historical comedy into a cultural landmark. It was proof that his genius was not just in physical comedy, it was in storytelling itself, combining wit, timing, and humanity in a way that would resonate for decades. By 1990, Rowan Atkinson had already proven his comedic genius with Blackadder, but he was about to create something entirely different, Mr. Bean. Unlike any previous character, Mr. Bean spoke almost no words. He relied entirely on physical comedy, facial expressions, and awkward, surreal situations. The idea was brilliant in its simplicity, yet incredibly demanding for the performer. Rowan had to convey humor, emotion, and personality entirely through movement, a task that was as exhausting as it was revolutionary. The first episode aired on January 1st, 1990, and the response was extraordinary. Within months, Mr. Bean had captured the hearts of millions across the globe. The character's silent, universal appeal allowed audiences from Tokyo to Sao Paulo to laugh without a single word of English. Yet behind the scenes, Rowan admitted the role was draining. Each gesture, each subtle facial twitch required perfect timing and immense concentration. While the audience laughed, he often felt like a fraud, shouldering the weight of a character whose success was enormous, but whose performance left him emotionally and physically exhausted. Despite the personal toll, Mr. Bean became a global phenomenon. The show was sold to 145 countries, with episodes like The Trouble with Mr. Bean drawing nearly 19 million viewers in the UK alone. The physicality of the performance, combined with the character's childlike charm, made it one of the most beloved comedy series of all time. Rowan's meticulous attention to detail, every movement rehearsed, every expression calibrated, was what elevated Mr. Bean from mere slapstick to timeless art. The success continued onto the big screen. The 1997 movie Bean grossed over $150 million worldwide, while Mr. Bean's holiday in 2007 introduced the character to a new generation. But the demands never eased. Filming stunts, cycling through chaotic sequences, and performing intricate physical comedy left Rowan exhausted for weeks at a time. The pressure of being the world's silent clown weighed heavily, and he often longed for the end of filming. Even so, Rowan refused to compromise his vision. In 2002, he transitioned Mr. Bean into an animated series, allowing the character to thrive while reducing the physical strain on himself. This move demonstrated a rare combination of creativity and self-preservation. Rowan could keep the magic alive without sacrificing his well-being. Through Mr. Bean, he achieved global fame, influenced generations of comedians, and turned childhood pain and struggle into laughter that transcended language. Yet, beneath the humor, the cost of brilliance remained a private burden, one only Rowan fully understood. While Mr. Bean dominated the world stage, Rowan Atkinson was quietly exploring new avenues both professionally and personally. His film career began to flourish with roles that allowed him to combine a signature physical comedy with more nuanced performances. In 1994, he appeared as a nervous priest in For Weddings and a Funeral. Though a small role, his fumbling of wedding vows became instantly iconic, showing that his comedic timing could translate seamlessly to mainstream cinema. Later, the Johnny English series would cement his status as a master of parody, blending slapstick humor with clever nods to classic spy films. From 2003's Johnny English to Johnny English Strikes Again in 2018, Rowan infused the character with wit, intelligence, and occasionally the depth of his engineering mind, reflecting his unique ability to bring realism to absurdity behind the camera. However, life was far from simple. Rowan's personal life experienced both joy and heartbreak. In the late 1980s, he met Sunetra Sastry, a BBC makeup artist, and their relationship blossomed into marriage in 1990. They had 2 children together, Lily and Benjamin, and for over 2 decades, Rowan balanced the chaos of fame with the quiet joys of family life. Yet, in 2014, their marriage ended in separation, and the divorce finalized in 2015. Simultaneously, Rowan began a relationship with actress Louise Ford, 27 years, his junior, sparking media frenzy. The public scrutiny was intense, but Rowan maintained his reserved demeanor, refusing to publicly justify or defend his private choices, even outside of love and family. Rowan faced life-threatening challenges. In 2001, while flying over Kenya with his family, the pilot fainted mid-flight. With no formal flying experience, Rowan calmly took the controls and safely landed the plane, protecting everyone aboard. The incident demonstrated a rare composure and courage hidden behind his comedic persona, a stark contrast to the bumbling, childlike characters he portrayed on screen. Rowan also became an outspoken thinker, advocating for causes he believed in. In 2012, he delivered a viral speech in Parliament defending freedom of expression, challenging censorship, and defending the right to speak, even when controversial. Likewise, his early adoption and later criticism of electric vehicles reflected a mind that questioned prevailing trends rather than blindly following them. Through it all, Rowan remained human, brilliant, flawed, and deeply reflective. He was a man who had transformed childhood pain, professional struggle, and public scrutiny into art, laughter, and impact. The world saw Mr. Bean and Blackadder, but beneath the comedy lay resilience, intellect, and a life defined not just by applause, but by the courage to endure and to keep moving forward. Rowan Atkinson's influence on comedy transcends generations, languages, and borders. from the painfully shy boy who struggled to speak, to the man who could make millions laugh with a single look. His journey is a testament to the transformative power of talent and perseverance. His silent comedy, perfected in Mr. Bean, created the universal language. Audiences in Tokyo, Mumbai, Sao Paulo, and New York all share the same laughter without needing subtitles or translation. His physical expressiveness, precise timing, and ability to turn the mundane into hilarity became a blueprint for comedians worldwide, earning him the nickname the 21st Century Charlie Chaplin. Beyond the laughter, Rowan redefined what it meant to be a comedic actor with Blackadder. He showcased that comedy could coexist with intelligence, historical context, and even poignancy. The final series, Blackadder Goes Forth, combines satire, emotion, and subtle social commentary, leaving audiences both laughing and reflecting on the absurdity of war. His ability to navigate between lighthearted slapstick and deeper storytelling set him apart from his contemporaries. Awards and accolades followed. From his first BAFTA for Not the 9 O'Clock News to Olivier Awards, multiple BAFTA nominations for Mr. Bean, and international recognition with the Emmy, Rowan's work was both celebrated and respected, yet, despite these honors, he remained remarkably humble, often questioning his own success and acknowledging the personal cost of his performances. Rowan's influence also extended beyond entertainment. He became a voice for freedom of speech, environmental responsibility, and thoughtful public discourse. His speeches in Parliament and articles on climate technology sparked debates, reminding the world that even comedians could challenge societal norms and push for thoughtful dialogue. Perhaps most importantly, Rowan's story is one of resilience. From childhood bullying and stuttering to the physical and emotional demands of Mr. Bean, he transformed personal struggles into creativity. He demonstrated that vulnerability could coexist with brilliance, that laughter could be born from pain, and that true artistry required courage and perseverance. As Rowan Atkinson turns 70, his legacy is secure. Comedy schools teach the Atkinson method, aspiring comedians study his techniques, and fans continue to cherish every sketch, episode, and film. He is more than an actor, he is a cultural icon, a pioneer of physical comedy, and a symbol of how passion, dedication, a relentless pursuit of one's craft can change the world. Rowan Atkinson did not just make people laugh, he gave them something far more enduring: joy, wonder, and the proof that even the quietest voice can resonate across generations.